Well, let's get the latest situation on the ground. Joining me, our defence and security analyst, Professor Michael Clarke. Let's talk about troop movements in the east first, shall we? What do we know about what's happening?
Yes, I mean, Sarah Jane, the whole thing is centred on Severodonetsk. The Russians have surrounded it on three sides, which they'd done some time ago, and we keep waiting for them to cut it off completely, because if you look at a map of this size, it looks as if they haven't got really much to do to grab the rest of Luhansk. But Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, have said they want the whole of the Donbas, so they want Donetsk as well, which is a rather bigger territory. But even grabbing the whole of Luhansk is not as simple as it looks when you see it on a map of this size.
Yeah, if we zoom in closer, you could just sort of see how vast the space is in between the two cities. That doesn't really do it justice, does it? And when you think how long it took Russian troops to take Mariupol, what kind of job have they got on their hands in Severodonetsk, and how are they getting on in general? Because
I mean, this is a big country. Ukraine's a big country, and when you actually look at maps in a bigger scale, you realise what the distances are that we're talking about. So the Ukrainians are fighting in Severodonetsk. The Russians, or the Chechens actually, have got into one part of it, to the eastern part. They grabbed a hotel, which they're using as an observation post, and a power station or power grid area, and the Ukrainians are competing for it, so they're not giving up the city. And the Ukrainians have got southwest of Lysychansk, they've got about 4 brigades. That's about 20,000 troops in this general area. That's quite a big force, and that force is supplying across the river, the Seversky Donets River. The bridges are all down one way or another, but they're getting supplies into the city, so they're able to supply it because they've got those troops there. If they get under pressure, the question that they have to ask themselves is, do they fall back on Slavyansk and Kramatorsk? Those are the two cities that are the key to the rest of the Donbas. So if Lavrov really means that they want the whole of the Donbas, they have to take Slavyansk and Kramatorsk. And in front of those two cities is high ground, and that matters. Even these days, high ground matters in battles. So the Ukrainians do have the choice to give up this territory, if they have to, and fall back on Slavyansk and Kramatorsk. Now, what the Russians would like to do is they took Popasna some time ago, a couple of weeks ago, and they've very slowly started to move north. They took Lyman over the weekend. That was a big plus for them, and they've started to move south, but they've still got to cross the river. What, of course, they would like to do is finish off in Severodonetsk and get behind the Ukrainians here, these 4 brigades that are west of the river. But they won't do this quickly. Those distances, that's about 45 miles between Lyman and Popasna. And at the moment, the Russians are only making, 1.5 to 2 miles of advance on a good day, sometimes nothing at all. So the Ukrainians are not going to find themselves overnight surrounded. They've got time to think about what to do. And not least, the road from Bakhmut to Lysychansk. That road, if you're a tourist, you'll know it as the T-1302. But that road, and there's another one slightly to the north of it, the Russians actually occupied that road for a while last week. The Ukrainians took it back, so that road is now in Ukraine's hands. And it might have been a tourist road at one time, but it's a vital supply line now. Now, it's within artillery range of Russian forces, so it's a bit of a thunder run going up and down it, one would guess. But as long as that road stays open, the Ukrainians have got choices that they can make. So then they do risk being surrounded. It's not going to happen overnight. They have time to think about it, and they are not going to make it easy for the Russians to close this little pocket, which, when you look on a big map, looks easy.
OK. Professor Michael Clarke, interesting to hear your perspective of what's going on in the ground. As you said, as you zoom in, we get the bigger picture, if you see what I mean. Thank you very much for the moment. More from Professor Michael Clarke throughout the programme.